Hello everyone, it's me Uncle. Today I am going to read at 66099 Wayside School, Chapter 20, Kathy. Kathy doesn't like you. She doesn't know you, but she still doesn't like you. She thinks you're stupid. In fact, she thinks you're the stupidest person she doesn't know. What do you think of that? She also thinks you're ugly. As a matter of fact, she thinks you're the ugliest person she doesn't know, and she doesn't know a lot of people. Doesn't like the people she knows either. She hates everyone in Mrs. Jewell's class. She did like one member of the class. She liked Sammy. She thought he was funny. Sammy was a dead rat. But Kathy had good reasons for not liking any of the children she knows. She doesn't like DJ because he smiles too much, and she doesn't like John because he can stand on his head. Kathy once had a cat named Skunks. She liked Skunks, but she was afraid that Skunks would run away. You have nothing to worry about, Kathy, said Mrs. Jules. Skunks won't run away. Just be nice to him and feed him and pet him, and he won't run away. He may go out and play, but he'll always come back. No, you're wrong, Mrs. Jules. What do you know? He'll run away. So Kathy kept Skunks locked up in a closet at home. She never let him out, sometimes even forgot to feed him. One day, while Kathy was looking for her other shoe, Skunks went out of the closet and never came back. You said he would come back, Mrs. Jules. He never came back. You're wrong. I was right. That was why Kathy didn't like Mrs. Jules. The next time I get a cat, I'll kill him. Then he'll never run away, said Kathy. Then there was a time that Damien tried to teach Kathy how to play catch. Damien said, when I throw you the ball, Kathy, try to catch it. I can't catch it, said Kathy. I'll just get hurt. You won't get hurt. Damien insisted. Just watch the ball. He tossed it to her. But Kathy knew she would get hurt. So she closed her eyes. The ball hit her on the cheek. It hurt. Kathy began to cry. You're wrong, she sobbed. I was right. That was why Kathy didn't like Damien. Allison believed that if you're nice to someone, then they'll be nicer to you. So one day she brought Kathy a cookie. I don't want your ugly cookie, said Kathy. I probably taste horrible, Allison said. No, it is very good. I made it myself, Kathy said. If you made it, then it must stink. You can't cook? You're too stupid. She just put the cookie in her desk, along with her pencils, crayons, and books. 3 weeks later, Kathy was hungry. All right, Allison, I'll try your stupid cookie. She took it out of her desk. It was covered with dust. She bit it. It was hard and tasted terrible. See, I was right. That was why Kathy didn't like Allison. Yes, Kathy had very good reasons for not liking anybody she knew. But she also had a good reason for not liking you, and she doesn't even know you. Her reason is this. She knows that if you ever met her, you don't like her. You don't like Kathy, do you? See, she was right. It's funny how a person can be right all the time and still be wrong. Chapter 21, Ron. Ron had curly hair and little feet. I want to play kickball, he said. You can play, said Terence. Get out of here, said Didi. Scram, said Jason. I want to play kickball, said Ron. Well, you're not playing, said Terence. Beat it. Ron stomped across the playground to the hopscotch area. Jenny was playing hopscotch with Louis. Jenny was on 9. Louis was still on 4, but it was his turn. I want to play kickball, Ron said. So go play kickball, said Louis. Terence won't let me play, said Ron. Louis walked with Ron to kickball field. Hey, what about a hopscotch game? Jenny asked. You won, said Louis. I just beat Louis in hopscotch, Jenny announced. Leslie, Randy, and Allison flocked around her. Hey, Louis, Damien shouted. Do you want to play kickball? All right, said Louis. Ron and I will both play. No, said Terence. Ron isn't playing. Anyone who wants to play can play, said Louis. No, he can't, said Louis. It's my ball. It isn't your ball. You gave it to me, said Terence. I gave it to you to share. If you can't share it, you can't have it. Oh, all right, said Terence, but I get to pitch. Ron and I will stand everybody. Louis announced. All right, said Jason. We'll kick them. We'll murder them. We'll smash them, said Myron. We'll see, said Louis. Ron pitched, and Louis played the other 8 position. 20 minutes later, they finally got 3 out. The score was 21-0. Runners up first, infield in, shouted Damien. Everybody stood within 10 feet of home plate. All right, Ron, Louis shouted. Kick it over their heads. Ron kicked the ball. Only 3.5 feet. Todd picked it up and threw him out. Louis was up. Everybody ran back to the edge of the outfield. Still, Louis kicked the ball over their heads for a home run. Everybody ran all the way back in again for runs up. He kicked the ball only 2 feet. Did he tag them out? Louis kicked another home run. Ron then kicked the ball a foot and tripped over it on his way to the first base. There 3 outs. Ron and Louis held the other team to only 5 runs the next inning. That was because the bell rang. Lunch was finally over. Louis and Ron lost 26-2. Ron had a wonderful time. Next day, Ron said, I want to play kickball. You can't play, said Terrence. Get out of here, said Jason. Scram, said Diddy. I want to play kickball. Ron told Louis. Louis walked with him to the kickball field. Ron and I will stand, all of you. Everybody liked the teams. Ron pitched while Louis played the other 8 position. They lost 57-2. After the game, Louis took Ron aside. Listen, Ron, why do you always want to play kickball? You can't kick, you can't field, you can't even run to first base. You just get smashed every game. And now wait a second. Don't go blaming it all on me. You are half the team too. And with that he punched Louis in the stomach, and he punched the heck of a lot harder than he kicked. Chapter 22, The 3 Erics. In Mrs. Jules' class, there were 3 children named Eric, Eric Fry, Eric Bacon, Eric Ovens. They were known throughout the school for being fat. Eric Fry sat at the end of the room, Eric Bacon sat in the middle of the room, and Eric Ovens sat at the end of the room. There was a joke around Wayside School that if all 3 acts were even ever at the same end of the room at the same time, the whole school would tip over. Eric Bacon hated jokes like that. That's not surprising. After all, he wasn't even fat. In fact, he was the skinniest kid in Mrs. Jules' class, but nobody seemed to notice. The other 2 Erics were fat, and so everyone just thought all Erics were fat. But I'm not fat, Eric Bacon insisted. What's your names? Eric. Then you're fat, Jason concluded. And pretty soon, skinny little Eric Bacon, the skinniest kid in Mrs. Jules' class, had a nickname Fatso. Eric Fry really was fat. He was also the best athlete in Mrs. Jules' class. His body was a solid muscle. However, nobody ever noticed. The other 2 Erics weren't very good at sports. Eric Owens was clumsy. Eric Bacon was a good athlete for his size, but because he was so skinny, he didn't have much power. So naturally, everybody just assumed that Eric Fry was also clumsy and weak. After all, his name was Eric. Whenever the other kids chose a team, Eric Fry was the last one picked. They never noticed his home run or the fabulous catches he made. Like all great athletes, he made impossible look easy. Of course, the other kids did notice to want him that he dropped the ball. Eric Fry was playing right field. Terrence belted a deep fly to left. Eric Fry raced all the way across the field after the ball, and at the last second dived at it. He caught it in mid-air on his fingertips, but as he hit the ground, the ball squirted loose. Well, what do you expect from Butterfingers? Said Stephen. Since this time, Eric Fry has had the nickname Butterfingers. Eric Owen was the nicest person in Mrs. Jules' class. He treated everyone equally, always had a kind word to say. Because his name was Eric, everyone thought he was mean. Fatso was mean because everyone called him Fatso. Butterfinger was mean because he always had to play right field. So naturally, everyone just assured that Eric Owen was also mean. They called him the crab apple. Good morning, Allison, said Eric Owen. How are you? Lay off, crab apple, will you? Answered Allison. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. All three of the Erics had nickname. It was better that way. Otherwise, when someone said, over time, all the Erics would answer, and the next time, none of them would answer. But when someone said, "Hey, crab apple," then Eric often knew they were talking to him. And if someone said, "Hey, Butterfingers," Eric Fry knew they meant him. And when someone said, "Hey, Faso," Eric Becker knew that he was being called. Chapter 23, Allison. Allison had pretty blonde hair and always wore a sky blue windbreaker. Her windbreaker was the same color as her eyes. She was best friends with Randy. Randy had blonde hair too, but she was missing her two front teeth. Allison had all of her teeth. Allison used to say that she knocked Randy's teeth out. Allison was very pretty, so all the boys in Mrs. Jewell's class teased her, especially Jason. But Allison said, "Leave me alone or I'll knock your teeth out, like I did Randy's." The boys didn't bother her after that. One day, Allison brought a tangerine for lunch. She took the peel off in one piece. Miss Mush, the lunch teacher, walked up to her. "Allison, may I have your tangerine?" she asked. Miss Mush was always give food to the children, so Alice was happy to give a tangerine to Miss Mush. Miss Mush shoved it in her mouth and swallowed it in less than 4 seconds. Allison left the lunchroom and walked down to the library. The lunchroom was on the 15th story. The library was on the 7th. Allison already had a book. She just went to the library because it was nice and quiet there. The librarian walked up to Allison. "What are you reading?" she asked. Allison told her the name of the book. "That sounds like a good book," said the librarian. "I never read that one. May I borrow it?" The librarian always lent books to the children. Allison was glad to be able to return the favor. She gave the librarian the book. They walked down the stairs outside to the playground. All of Allison's friends were playing freeze tag. Allison didn't feel like playing. She reached into the pocket of a sky blue windbreaker and took out a tennis ball. She bounced it a couple of times on the ground. Louis came up to her. "Hi, Allison. May I play with your tennis ball?" Louis always gave balls to the children. Allison happily gave her ball to Louis. Louis threw the ball all the way to the other side of the playground. Then he went chasing after it. Allison didn't feel like doing anything, just went up and tagged her. "You are frozen," he said. "Get out of here before I knock your teeth out," said Allison. Jason shrugged his shoulders and left. Allison went back inside, up the 30 flights of stairs to Mrs. Joel's room. The lunch period wasn't over yet, but Allison didn't feel like doing anything else. She had given her food to the lunch teacher, her book to the librarian, her bowl to the yellow teacher. She went inside the classroom. Mrs. Jules was there. "Oh, Allison, I'm glad you're up here. I'm having trouble with an arithmetic problem. Maybe you can help." "Sure." Miss Jules always helped the children with the problem, and Allison was happy to help. "How do you spell chair?" "Chair." "Yeah, that's what I said. I knew it wasn't chair, chair, but I couldn't remember what it was." "It's not an arithmetic problem," said Allison. "That's spelling." "Yes, you're right again. I always get the two mixed up." The bell rang. The lunch period was over. Allison could hear the other children running up the stairs. Allison said, "Mrs. Jules, you learned a very important secret today, and I don't want you to tell any of the other children, not even Randy." What was that? She didn't even know she had learned the secret. She loved the secret. "You learned that children are really smarter than the teachers," said Miss Jewel. "Oh, that's no secret. Everybody knows that." The end.